Good job. Thank you, Lindsay. That's so funny because I love that song. But I also have watched the Gilmore Girls all 7 seasons, probably 7 times. So I feel like that song's like a part of my body now, and I I just want to thank all of you who have been praying for me and keeping me in your thoughts and holding the highest and best for me, because I had this nasty bug that like would not leave for about 2 weeks, and I was like held up on the couch till I got tired of being there. Then I was on the bed, then the couch, then the bed, and I did watch the Gilmore Girls and every other show probably. And I felt like a little dog in the window watching everybody go doing their life, and I'm just sitting there being sick, feeling like crap, all that. And so when it started to ease up, I realized, like, okay, you can probably give the message that's coming up Sunday. And we are a part of the Centers for Spiritual Living globally, right? And so we participate in a global theme. So no matter what center you go to, if they choose to participate, we're all having the same probably theme. So our theme for this month is Inclusion in Action, and the message title is Let's Get Together and Feel All Right, okay? The whole Bob Marley One Love. Well, so I read that as I'm just coming out of being like super isolated for 2 weeks and feeling very depressed and a little resentful of my city and frustrated and alone and all that. And I see this, let's get together and feel all right. And I'm supposed to, give a message on that. And I thought, CSL is playing a very cruel trick on me, like a very cruel joke. And I know that they didn't know that COVID-19 was going to be happening when they thought of that message title, but I was like just blocked for a while. And then I realized, I actually looked through and felt through the that actual song, One Love by Bob Marley. And I found this really profound. Maybe I was grasping at straws, I don't know, but then I had this whole spiritual aha of how that song really relates to what we're going through right now. And I'm going to share that with you in a moment. But first, I just want to talk a little bit about, I'm kind of dramatic and poor, pitiful me. So I just want to tell you that my Disney princess has changed. How many of you have a Disney princess? Like, you are ... I hope some of you are putting it in the comments and in the chat what your Disney princess. So I used to be Belle, okay? But take a gander at what Disney princess I became during my 2 weeks of no kids, husband doesn't get off work till 6 or 7, all by myself, sick, at home, wow. Just take a guess. I'll give you a hint, okay? Lindsay, don't give it away if you know it. I'll give you a hint. Look at this stuff. Isn't it neat? How many wonders can one girl complete? I know that. What does it say? It's like, what does she say? She's like, I want to be where the people are. I want to see them dancing. And I'm thinking, like, yes. I want to go where it's like, out where they walk, out where they run, out where they stay all day in the sun, wandering free. Wish I could be a part of the world. Yes, that would be Ariel, the Little Mermaid. I have now become Ariel. But today I get to be in the world with one other person, John Broderick, which is great. I get to see a human being, so that's very, very nice. But what I realized was that this is like a real situation we got here. because spending that little amount of time alone, just 2 weeks, like kind of with nobody, was torturous. It like I felt so depressed. It felt like Groundhog's Day. Like, oh my gosh, it's the same thing every day. What is the point? And being an introvert, a very professed introvert who loves to have time alone and to herself, that's saying a lot, because normally I would give anything to be able to have a little alone time, and at this point, I was like, no more. And I learned a lot about myself, and that's kind of like the point of this message, is that I'm wanting to know, and I'm wondering what you're learning about yourself. Because one of the things that I learned, I feel like I've had these, when you have nothing else to do but be with yourself, and then you watch all the Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime, and then you do the 7-day trial of HBO and Showtime and all that, and that's all done and over with. What you're left with is yourself, or that's what I'm left with. And so it forces me to take a look at myself and how I'm feeling, instead of just being consumed or moving all the time, or being around things, or filling my time up with busyness. And so there's like this internal revolution that's going on inside of me. I feel like a whole different person, you know? And a revolution, it's like an uprising. It doesn't feel good, because it's like it's like this newness waging war on the oldness and all of that. And so one of the things that occurred to me, that I learned actually, that was really helpful, and it will be helpful moving forward in life. And I think this whole inclusion in action, what it's about, is recognizing our oneness, and that no matter our color, no matter our differences, that we are one human family. So here's one thing that I've learned. I used to say this. I think it was because I had kids. Okay, I used to say loneliness isn't the worst emotion. Loneliness isn't the worst emotion. And that was like, to somebody who, or to myself, if you're with a partner and you have kids and you don't want to leave because the kids, but you're fighting all the time, and how much happier you would be, but you might be lonely. Well, loneliness isn't the worst emotion. Well, actually, and this has nothing to do with leaving people or this or that, loneliness is the worst emotion we could have. And it's alarming, because what I've learned is that many universities, the AARP, they've all been doing these studies on loneliness. And so now we have what you call the double pandemic. And it's about social isolation and COVID-19, right? So loneliness, before this ever happened, we had an epidemic of loneliness. 50% of Americans said that they felt alone. Well, now that's jumped 30 more percent, right? So that's about 80% of us feel alone. And do you know what is the most shocking part of this? And this is why I've been so frustrated, and this is why I believe I was called to pulpit ministry, to be in person with human beings, like literally, being able to feel each other's energy and hug, because loneliness is worse for you than obesity. Loneliness is worse for your health than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It's worse for your health than smoking 15 cigarettes a day, which is almost a pack of cigarettes. Like, that's, a pack a day, is gonna kill you. And so I just want to invite us to hold on to that, and to remember that for all of the times that we maybe don't take enough time to make a phone call, for all the times that maybe we don't, maybe we feel alone. Sometimes it helps to remember that other people are feeling it too. And that's kind of where this this profound message that is within this song comes from. So we've got this song, One Love, right? And let's get together and feel all right. Well, we know that when we're together, where two or more are gathered, is the presence of that divine, right? Not that it isn't everywhere always, but you really feel that energetic flow, right? But there's the first, so there's this first part of this process. It says, I can't remember what it says. Un momento. Okay, so what do we know? So here's where we're gonna go with this message this morning. What do we know? What do we know like we know like we know? What is for sure? And then what in the heck is going on? And then what kind of spiritual practice can we use and implement? And it all comes from the one song. So what do we know? We know that there is no hiding place from the Father of creation, right? There is no hiding place from the Father of creation. And what that means is, number one, we can't hide from the divine. And number two, even though we feel like it, it has never left us. That there is a power greater than we are that is always with us, that is always present and always supportive of us. And God knows that I don't feel it all the time. And I'm sure you don't feel it all the time because I'm human, you're human, but it is there. There's no hiding place from the Father of creation. And so it reminds me of this parable. I think it's the last parable in the Sermon on the Mount by Jesus. He says, it's about the two builders, right? He says, you can build your house, or there's, let me just read a little bit of it. 7:24, therefore, whoever hears these words of mine and does them, they are like a wise man who builds his house upon a rock. And the rain fell, and the rivers overflowed, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, but it did not fall, because its foundations were laid upon a rock. And whoever hears these words of mine and does not is like a foolish man who built his house upon sand. And the rain fell, and the rivers overflowed, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell, and its falling was great. And what does that mean? Besides reminding me of that Johnny Cash song, how high is the water, mama? 3 feet high and rise. Okay, I know we have a lot of the songs in today, but what happens when we are hit with adversity, right? When the water of life is rising, right? The water of life, we know that to be metaphysically and symbolically the consciousness, right? So right now, the water of life is rising, and we are either falling apart because we've built our foundation, our spiritual foundation, the substance of who we are. We've either built that on sand, or we are strong and steady, flexible, and wading in the water and okay. Now, it's okay if you feel like you're the sand, if you're like the person like, dang, I must have built mine on the sand, because I've been feeling that way too sometimes. That's okay. Because what happens when we build our house on the sand and adversity hits and we get hit and we get knocked down to the ground, right? Well, number one, there's nowhere else to go but up. And number two, that has taught us what not to do, right? So then we're going to look around and we're going to say, oh, okay, maybe I got to go where they're going because they still have that house, and I'm really tired now, and I'm tired of hurting. I'm tired of struggling. I'm tired of doing the same thing over and over and over again, and thinking it's going to change and it just being the same. And so let us remember that there is no hiding place from the divine, that it is forever and always that solid rock on which we stand. But we must embrace it. We must continually strive to remember, to embody, and to embrace that if spirit, like Thomas Trord said, if spirit is to be anywhere, it must be absolutely everywhere, at every point in the universe, in 100% full force, everywhere. And then that brings us to this experience that we're having right now, which we could say is like the holy Armageddon, right? So there's that line in the song that says, "Let's get together to fight this holy Armageddon." You might think, what the heck is a holy Armageddon? Well, Armageddon is a Hebrew word or term that's used to represent, in the last chapter of the Christian scriptures, the Revelations. It's like this town called something, and there's a big fight and the war, and what it means symbolically, because in the science of mind philosophy, as a part of the New Thought movement, we recognize many of the Christian scriptures as metaphor, as symbolism, as representing something that someone was trying to share a message, and it may not be 100% verbatim, but what they're doing is they're trying to share some truth. And so right now we could imagine ourselves in this holy Armageddon, right? Like we are right now, each and every one of us on our own, feeling isolated, together as one human planet family. Internally, let's just go internally. We are each individually, internally fighting a holy Armageddon. And what that means is that we are in this battle, and there are all these errors and all of these false beliefs, and yet there is an uprising, right? There's an uprising of life, of that holy water, and it's in a battle, and it's taking over. There is a divine urge to evolve. There's a divine urge to be more than we are, because there is infinite potential for us as humans, for all life. But just speaking about us right now, there is infinite potential for us. So if we are stagnant, if we are wading in a swamp water because we believe that is where we were meant to be, where we're supposed to be, or we bought into somebody's crap idea about how our life was supposed to go. And right now, there is a holy Armageddon, a holy war. It is upon us, and it is within us, and it is saying, no more. There is a spiritual revolution, a spiritual uprising at this point. And for those of us who felt like maybe we were steady, but we ended up accidentally realizing we built our house on sand, let's get to building back together again, right? Let's get together and be all right. Let's get to building it back together. We have time. It's not too late. I know that there are many of us who feel, I don't know, shame or resentment or blame or suffering, or there's something going on in your life and you're like, feel like a fraud, you know? I've said that before. If I can't be up here and be all happy and whatever, I feel like a fraud. It's like, get over yourself, Nicole. But we're all going through something. We all have stuff. And that's what makes us this beautiful mosaic of life, of divine being. This holographic, you know, it's just a multifaceted beauty. But it's like evolution, spiritual evolution. means growth. Growth hurts, doesn't it? I mean, anytime I've ever grown, it's hurt. Growing pains. If somebody tries to stretch you, it hurts. If I try to build muscle, it hurts. Right? It's better. It's good for us. And that's what I know is that right now, I don't know about you, but a lot of times I'm in this kind of like depression, like when is this ever going to end? And resentment. Why won't they wear a mask? And all of this. And and I think, you know, there's something going on. And if I do my part, and if I do me, and start working on me, and they do them, and work on them, together, collectively, this will be a whole new earth. We are not going to be the same people. I can already feel that I'm not the same person that I was 4 months ago. I believe that we are more authentic, more vulnerable, more real, because we have had to get real with ourselves. And it's a beautiful thing, and it's a painful thing. And I'm here with you, and I know you're here with me. And so the third part is actually a spiritual practice. So we've got one love, right? One heart, let's get together and feel all right. So we know that there's no hiding place from the Father of creation. We know that we're going to get together and fight this holy Armageddon, right? We're going to get together in consciousness. And it's really not a fight. It's really a rising. And it kind of, when water rises, it just naturally submerges all the stuff that no longer needed, wipes it away, dissolves it. And then the spiritual practice that I was reminded of yesterday at our women's group by Ann Lacey, she picked up this book and it said The Attitude of Gratitude. And I don't know about you, but for me, when I am like in my misery stuff, I do not want to be in gratitude. Like I can't even feel it. I don't think you can feel both things at the same time. But where it says, give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel all right. Give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel all right. I don't care if we have to fake it till we make it. We cannot be in gratitude and in suffering, pain, resentment at the same time. So it would behoove us, if we are awakening to our spiritual magnificence, it would behoove us, if we are trying to survive this pandemic, to grasp at something to be grateful for. Just something to be grateful for. So that our minds and our hearts and our consciousness, it just shifts. It'll just naturally shift. Give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will be all right. I will be all right. Give thanks and praise. Say that with me. Give thanks and pray. I give thanks and praise to the Lord, and we will be all right. Yes, and I know that there's sometimes some apprehension to that word Lord, but let us just know that is the Lord of life. That is the grand designer of all, that Father Universe, Mother Earth colliding within us. And so I want to remind us something that Ernest Holmes said, and I'm going to say it, and then I want us to say it together. He reminds us, he says, I am guided, I love this, I am guided by the same intelligence and inspired by the same imagination which scattered the moonbeams across the waves and holds the force of nature in its grasp. Say that with me. I am guided by the same intelligence and inspired by the same imagination which scattered the moonbeams over the waves and holds the force of nature in its grasp. It's Dr. Ernest Holmes in This Thing Called You, page 124. This is what I invite us to do. I know I've shared a lot, and maybe we'll have a vulnerability hangover from sharing too much. I don't know, but that's okay. I want you to know that I'm here for you, that I love you, that I miss you, and I really miss being here in community together. And I guess I'll leave you with just one more song quote. We can't always get what we want, but if we try sometimes, we just might find that we get what we need. And so it is.